All of us use electrical devices every day, but what actually happens inside the wires? Electric current is the directed movement of free electrons through a conductor. Depending on whether they move only in one direction or change direction, we distinguish between direct current and alternating current. From a physical point of view, current intensity is the amount of electric charge that passes through the cross-section of a wire in 1 unit of time. Although electrons always move from the negative pole toward the positive pole, it is important to remember the historical rule. The conventional direction of current is always the opposite. We always draw it from plus to minus. However, current will not flow by itself. Just as water and pipes remain still without a pump, electrons also need pressure in order to move. This electrical pressure is called voltage. Imagine 2 containers filled with water. The difference in water level creates pressure that pushes the water through the pipe. In the world of electricity, voltage is exactly that, a potential difference. We can also imagine it as a hill. The steeper the hill, the faster the ball will roll downward. In other words, the higher the voltage, the stronger the force that pushes the electrons. When we connect a voltage source, an electric field is created inside the wire. It acts like an invisible force that orders the chaotic electrons to line up and start moving in the same direction. To define this with a formula, voltage is actually the amount of energy or work that each electric charge receives in order to move from one point to another. The unit of measurement is the volt. Without this supplied energy, electrons simply have no reason to move. In the end, this necessary voltage can be produced, for example, by a DC or AC generator. DC generators produce direct voltage. It pushes current only in one direction, which is why its graph over time looks like a straight line. On the other hand, AC generators, like the ones used in power plants, produce alternating voltage. It rhythmically changes its polarity, pushing electrons back and forth, which creates the well-known sinusoidal wave on a graph. How are these quantities connected? The answer lies in the most important law of electrical engineering, Ohm's law. Voltage tends to push current through a circuit, while resistance opposes that flow and makes it harder for charges to move. Current is always the direct result of their relationship. If we increase the voltage, the current also increases, but if we increase the resistance in the circuit, the flow of current is drastically reduced. This simple relationship helps us understand how almost every basic electrical circuit behaves. The rate at which electrical energy is transferred and consumed in devices is called electric power. We obtain it by simply multiplying voltage and current, and it is measured in watts. 1 watt represents 1 joule of transferred energy per second. The rule is simple. More voltage or more current always means greater electric power, which means the device receives or consumes energy faster. Resistors are elements that limit the flow of current. We decode their value using colored bands. The first digits give the base value, the third band is the multiplier, and the last one represents tolerance. When a resistor opposes current, it irreversibly converts part of the electrical energy into heat. This is why resistors, especially powerful ones, can become warm during operation. Resistors can be connected in 2 ways. In parallel connection, current has multiple paths, so the total resistance decreases. In series connection, the resistances simply add together because the current must pass through each resistor one after another. Unlike resistors, capacitors store energy. They consist of 2 metal plates separated by an insulator, and they store energy in the form of an electric field. The process has 3 phases. The first is charging. At the beginning, current flows freely, slowly creating voltage between the plates. In the steady state, the capacitor is fully charged. The voltage reaches its maximum, and the flow of direct current completely stops. If we turn off the source, discharging follows. The capacitor now acts like a small battery that briefly powers the light bulb, releasing the energy it stored earlier.
When it comes to connecting capacitors, the rules are opposite to those for resistors. A parallel connection increases the total capacitance, while a series connection decreases it. While a capacitor stores energy in an electric field, an inductive coil stores energy in a magnetic field, which is created by the flow of current through the turns of wire. If we turn off the source, the coil will continue to supply the light bulb for a short time because its magnetic field collapses and releases stored energy. And what happens if we apply the reverse process? If we move a permanent magnet through a wire coil, the moving magnetic field begins to push the electrons in the wire and creates its own voltage and current. This is called electromagnetic induction and is the foundation of how all power plants in the world operate. When circuits become complex, Ohm's law is not enough. Here is where Kirchhoff's laws come into play, allowing us to analyze circuits with several branches, sources, and components. The first law, or Kirchhoff's current law, is based on the principle of conservation of charge. The sum of all currents entering a node must be absolutely equal to the sum of all currents leaving it. Nothing can be lost. The second law, or Kirchhoff's voltage law, is based on the principle of energy. In any closed path within a circuit, the sum of all supplied voltages from sources minus the sum of all voltage drops across consumers must always be equal to 0.